We have a bit of a tense weekend coming up with Venus squaring Mars and Sun opposing Neptune on Friday, September 16th. There might be a sense of confusion, loss, frustration with things falling apart and not being as you'd like them to be. Nothing to worry about. Let's talk about it and break it down. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing mainly in relationship, natal, and predictive astrology. If you would like to work with me, there are links down below. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I appreciate all of your comments and I try to reply to as many as I can. And of course, it also helps my channel grow. Here's even a supportive sound from New York. Whoop, whoop, for Anastasia. Of course, that's not what they're trying to say, but we don't need to care about that. So, two transits that are happening simultaneously on September 16th. They build and we start to feel them the week leading into, but let's say like 3 days before, so September 13th roughly into September 19th, 3 days after. First we have the Sun. I'm going to focus primarily on Venus squaring Mars, but we also have Sun opposing Neptune. And the Sun opposite Neptune is your ego. The Sun is ego consciousness, your wants, versus Neptune, which is the collective and the larger whole and the purpose, the spirituality. So when the Sun gets in opposition with Neptune, there might be a sense of your personal goals feel like a wash. They feel very selfish maybe, and maybe they feel wrong somehow. And there might be a sense of questioning your purpose, feeling unsure, feeling low on energy. It's just likely that you're doubtful and insecure. So beware that this is the undercurrent of it all, right? And then we also have Venus squaring Mars. So you are already sabotaged by feeling uncertain, and then when Venus squares Mars, you get relationship friction. Venus is feminine, Mars is masculine. When those two get along, we get sparks, right? Like even in a square, there still might be sparks, there might be tension, like sexual tension that can result in a passionate night in or out, in a great time between two people, especially in healthy relationships. But it's a square. Squares are of the nature of Mars. They're tense, they are dramatic. And Venus and Mars are, in Greek or Roman myth, Aphrodite and Aries, and those two are known for fighting and making love, fighting and making love. So this is more fighting, right? This is more like feminine. In Virgo, we have Venus in Virgo. The shadow side of Venus in Virgo is being critical, is being nitpicky, is like focusing on the negatives, right? And we have Mars in Gemini, which is more like youthful, multiple ideas, throwing things around, throwing socks around, right? And Venus in Virgo just like walking around and being frustrated with all the socks laying in your apartment, right? Like a very literal example of how this can play out, perhaps if you are a Pisces rising, maybe, right? Like with Venus being in your 7th house and Mars being in your 4th house of home and family. So beware of that. Beware that there's frustration, that things will not be perfect, and you will likely have a tendency at this time to focus on the negatives. How exciting is it for those of us that have our birthdays around that time? Like my birthday is a day before this transit on the 15th, so I'm not super excited to get that in my solar return chart. But everything can be worked with, especially if you are aware. And all this does is it calls you to have better relationships, especially since the ruler of, or better relationship dynamics, I should say. The ruler of Virgo and the ruler of Mars is Mercury, retrograde at the time of this transit. So Mercury is uncertain, Mercury is retracing steps, looking backwards, questioning things. And here we get like Venus and Mars. It's almost like, you know, Venus and Mars are in the house of Mercury, and Mercury realized that there is no more dip, and Mercury went over to the store because it like forgot the dip. And Venus and Mars are there, and like Mars starts like tossing things at Venus, or Mars starts like, I don't know, banging things loudly, and Venus is like hungry for dip. I mean, it's like a very impromptu example, but like, and Venus gets pissed and they get in a fight and they end up fighting. It's both of those are mercurial signs, right? So it's not likely physical fighting, but there might be harsh words. And just like a struggle to enjoy the moment. So you're warned, be careful, be aware, and know that this energy can be expressed in a healthier ways. As always, you can express it through exercise, you can express it through physical labor, right? Like working in the garden. You can express it through lovemaking, even if to yourself. But you can channel it somehow, right? Like you can channel it if you feel like banging something, go box, go like make a sculpture and just like knock into the piece of, into the stone. So it's going to be harder. It's, even though, you know, like we all like to know astrology in order to be warned, and it helps us sometimes, but the transits grab us at times. They like take us, and we feel impulsive, we feel impatient, and just like everything is annoying. So, but you can still try. You can still definitely try to be careful. So I'm going to do a quick run and talk about what this might signify for each sign. For Aries rising, we have Mars in the 3rd house squaring Venus in the 6th house. And you can expect difficulty in communication. Venus is in the 6th, wanting to build better health, wanting to have better professional routine, wanting to streamline things and maybe do them as quickly as possible. Let's say if it is at work or any personal projects you have. And Mars in the 3rd house is likely to bring problems with scheduling, technology not working the way you want it to work, things just popping up, and you know, maybe there being workload. There might be conflicts with your roommates if they're bothering you and not letting you have a better flow, conflicts with siblings, miscommunications. People might be like too direct, which ends up hurting you, or you might be too direct. So pay attention, be careful when it comes to that. For Taurus rising, Mars in the 2nd house squares Venus in the 5th house. And here we get Mars, impulsive, quick energy in the house of money making, squaring Venus in the house of romance, creativity, and children. And this is the energy of different values, possibly. This is the frustration related to overspending. Because maybe Venus in the 5th house and you just want to have like a good time with your partner. You want to travel together. You want to start a creative project and pursue something new together, but maybe they spend all the money. Maybe they just maybe they're too lavish and they don't hear your concerns that you actually need to be more careful. So there might be conflicts there. Being too competitive is a possibility too, where with Mars in the 2nd house, you're just so focused on the part, that deals with making money that you forget about having fun, or you forget that this is a group project and everybody else is supposed to enjoy it and have fun. So be careful, and then remember that teamwork and satisfaction of everyone is not likely possible, but is a good goal to aspire towards, is a better goal than just competing and winning. For Gemini rising, Mars in the 1st house squares Venus in the 4th house. And you're literally pinning your personal will and your personal desires and your personal projects against that of your family and maybe what your family needs. Venus in the 4th might actually enjoy spending time with family and having a nice time while Mars in the 1st house will possibly push you to achieve and go after things. So there might be tension related to that, and maybe certain conflicts between, Mars in the 1st house. Maybe you meet someone at work or elsewhere, just frustrates you and takes you away from enjoying the time at home. Almost even you are at home and maybe you are with family, but like all these things that are on your to-do list are taking your attention away from it. So try to maybe do some work in the home and process this transit in a more pleasant way versus like snipping at your family members. For Cancer rising, we have Mars in the 12th house squaring Venus in the 3rd house. And here you are facing your own self-defeating tendencies. Mars in the 12th house might bring your attention to your impulsiveness, to your bad habits, to your communication issues, even the ways in which you handle anger. Because there might be, with like Mars in the 12th house, there might be a lot of frustration and a struggle to express it, which results in you firing at your siblings, firing at people next to you, people who are closest to you. And likely you might struggle to enjoy your daily life and maybe feel frustrated with your daily life, but try not to hide all of your frustrations. Try to express it somehow. With Mars in the 12th house, you can enjoy working out on your own. You can enjoy going for a run, maybe doing yoga, meditating, doing something to calm yourself down. And don't act from like a rush and impulsive place. Watch out, be like extra careful, because acting from a rush and impulsive place at this point can actually be hurting you. It's never that great, right? Like to be super rash, says the person with 3 planets in Virgo, but you don't want to do it, especially around September 16th. For Leo rising, we have Mars in the 11th house squaring Venus in the 2nd house. And you have tension between your house of friends and networks and your group projects and the house of values and finances. So Mars in the 11th house might create conflicts between your friends or your conflict with your friends, putting your values against those of others. Maybe you get too wrapped up in the drama with the friends, or you get too competitive with your friends that ends up costing you or ends up bringing more frustration. Watch out for like wanting to win at all costs, or watch out for being too competitive. And also be careful with your financial decisions around this time, because Mars in the 11th might like push you to go after something and make like a snap judgment that's not necessarily great for you, or that leads you to feel frustrated about like not having enough money, for example. For Virgo rising, we have Mars in the 10th house squaring Venus in the 1st house. And Venus in the 1st house is you. It's your desire to be harmonious, peaceful, to bring joy into your immediate environment. And Mars in the 10th house is some drama at work. So there might be conflicts with your bosses. There might be frustration you have with your workload that possibly doesn't let you chill and relax and have a great time. Maybe you had a massage scheduled, but you have to deal with the insane workload at your job or some kind of aggressive behavior from people. It's good to be a mediator. It's good to try and compromise, but make sure you are making your voice heard, and make sure you're still, just be careful, I think, with being passive aggressive, with like being passive aggressive for a while and then that results in a conflict, or that results in you yelling at people and coming across in a way that you might later regret. For Libra rising, we have Mars in the 9th house squaring Venus in the 12th house. Venus in the 12th is likely desiring alone time, desiring peace and quiet, and maybe some sort of like romance with your boo in a tucked away spot. And Mars in the 9th house might just be like a source of, 9th house is spirituality, education, travel, legal, publishing, foreign people. Something is distracting you and taking you out from your cocoon. And it could be like important stuff, right? Like maybe there's professional things. Maybe people are reaching out to ask for your advice and help, and that is actually what guides you in life and makes you happy in life. But it still frustrates you. It frustrates you because you're unable to satisfy your need for a long time. Watch out for, with this transit, right? Like, watch out for snapping at people, yelling at people. Watch out for being too caught up on the negative, or like too stuck on the negative thinking. It is just a passing energy. It's going to pass. And even if you do get frustrated, even if you don't get what you like to do right now, it doesn't mean it's impossible for you to get, right? Like, you can still spend time alone or spend time with your partner later. Or things, even when things don't go according to plan, there's always room for you to be surprised. So definitely pay attention to like self-defeating negative tendency of getting too stuck in the details and the critical nature and focusing on the negatives too much. Because if you're staying just a little bit flexible, things can surprise you. Life is full of surprises. Next we have Scorpio rising. Once I fix my hair, I'm gonna be right with you, Scorpio risings. So for Scorpio risings, we have Mars in the 8th house squaring Venus in the 11th house. Venus in the 11th wants to bring peace and harmony to your friendships. It wants to talk to a lot of people, connect with a lot of people, harmonize the groups. While Mars in the 8th house can likely bring disagreements about the group dynamics, can bring a sense of like needing to maybe fight about resources, because maybe you do want everyone to get along and you do want to plant seeds of new group projects and new exciting beginnings. But Mars in the 8th is drawing your attention to the debt one of your friends has to you. And there might be conflicts related to that. Whether it's an actual financial debt or something else, that is hard to say, right? That is up for you to say. And let me know, if this resonates in the comments below. But definitely Mars in the 8th house could, maybe you somehow get dragged into the position of solving other people's problems, right? And all you wanted to do was like have like a fun dinner with your friends, but then they end up fighting and you end up being the mediator. So that's the way this can definitely play out. Watch out for spending money recklessly. Watch out for taking on debts and maybe signing up for things that will drain your finances and will leave you frustrated. And be careful when making financial decisions that affect your friendships. For Sag rising, we have Mars in the 7th house squaring Venus in the 10th house. And we have tension between the house of relationships and the house of career. Mars in the 7th house can create a lot of action in the house of relationships. It could be positive, where you're just handling a lot of things with your partner, or it could be more negative, where maybe you are fighting with your partner, maybe you are disagreeing with your partner. And then that squares Venus in the house of career, affecting your career, affecting your peace of mind. Maybe you and your partner disagree about the best career choice for you, right? Like maybe your career requires you to move or to spend time working nights, and your partner disagrees, and you sort of reach a very tense point in your relationship where things spill out and result in conflict. So be careful. Try to find a good balance around this time. Try to find like a healthier balance. And Mercury being retrograde is definitely a sign of things not being immediately clear, but you do have the power to not focus on the negatives. You can do as much as you can and try to be honest and trust that the answers will come, maybe just not immediately right now. For Capricorn rising, we have Mars in the 6th house squaring Venus in the 9th house. And I spoke about it earlier, for me, earlier in my videos, when I was talking about Venus, when I was talking about Sun trining Uranus on the 11th. There's a big desire for Capricorn risings to expand their life, right? And this could be multiple ways. This could mean putting your work out there into the world, writing, publishing. This could mean becoming a parent and just like taking on more, walking in new shoes, walking in new territories. While Mars in the 6th house is likely to bring some sort of daily fighting, struggle into your life that takes your attention away from that. So you would rather write and maybe, you know, present your work or go on a trip, while Mars in the 6th house is like, well, here is a health matter you have to deal with, or here is a frustrating colleague that keeps bugging you and sending you messages. Even like a legal matter of sorts can pop up that demands your attention and maybe takes you away from the joy of the moment. Maybe you're on a trip, right? Like around the middle of September, and then Mars in the 6th is just taking your attention away from that trip. Try to not get triggered by things, right? If it's the frustrating colleague, don't get into a fight with them. Try to find a healthier balance and a healthier way to express this energy, and take good care of your health to have like a better balance. And let me know how this resonates and how it plays out for you. For Aqua rising, we have Mars in the 5th house squaring Venus in the 8th house. So Mars in the 5th can bring competition, can bring some sort of drama related to children, drama related to romance that is affecting your joint resources, right? Venus in the 8th could be about your partner's money, could be about your marriage money. Maybe you wanted to spend money on something and you were like looking forward to invest into something. Maybe it's even like a mortgage. And then with Mars in the 5th house and a square to that, there might be a more pressing, urgent need, urgent matter that demands you to spend money on that, right? Like maybe you need to spend money on kindergarten for your child, and that, or your partner spends money on something that gets frustrating. Having to address financial habits between you and your partner, and having to talk about your values could be the answer here. Try not to get into a fist fight with them. Try not to express things with like maybe the tension build up and you feel frustrated. Just remember that like maybe they don't know that you've been building tension inside for a while about that financial matter. Try instead to have an honest conversation. And finally, for Pisces rising, there's Mars in the 4th house in a square with Venus in the 7th house. Something in your relationship gets bugged, or your partner maybe feels like frustrated by your family dynamics, or a relationship gets sabotaged. It doesn't mean it's gonna fall apart, but it means there is like relationship tension due to the living situation, or due to your family, due to some kind of real estate land matter, right? Like maybe your partner wants to move together, but you are still dealing with like selling your husband's house, ex-husband's house. There's just, I'm like struggling to come up with a good example, but definitely, maybe even something in your home, like maybe there is a leaky pipe and then your partner gets like, because Venus in the 7th could be you being frustrated, or it could be your partner just getting like stuck on a negative, and that sort of messes up the flow. But something might be happening at the home, or like something demands your attention. Maybe you feel frustrated that your partner doesn't fully understand what you're going through, or doesn't fully understand your family situation, your home situation. So you're definitely called to try and find a better balance between the needs of your relationship and the need of your home and family and your living situation. And maybe if there are any tensions and any conflicts, this could guide you towards the right answer. This is all I have. I hope it resonated. Thank you for being here. If you made it till the end, I'll talk to you very soon. Stay safe, don't fight with people, and try to express it through healthy outlets. Talk soon. Bye.